The Flock League draft video is already out, which means I can give you my secrets. I can give you my draft strategy, what I was thinking at every single pick, and how ultimately I was able to crush the competition, which was pretty tough in some instances with top experts, and then pretty easy with some of the other clowns that we had in the league. Now, the first thing I want to discuss was my draft strategy going into the draft. I had a couple hard rules based off our league settings. We are drafting in a 12-team double flex full PPR format, so I felt that it was very important for us to load up on the skill positions. I know I wanted at least 5 wide receivers before wide receiver 50 was off the board. I know that I especially wanted some running back depth, and I couldn't go get an elite quarterback and an elite tight end. So my plan going into the draft was, with my first 4 picks, I wanted at least 1 running back and 2 wide receivers. With my first 6 picks, I wanted at least 3 wide receivers and 2 running backs, unless I was able to get a hero running back. Now, that hero running back could have been Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, or Saquon Barkley. I was selecting at the 6th slot, so I was going to be a little surprised if we were able to get Bijan or Gibbs, knowing the people in my league. I was really thinking we were either going to get Barkley or Jefferson. And then with my first 9 picks, I wanted to get at least 5 wide receivers or at least 3 running backs. And in the late rounds, I wanted to put myself in a position where I could just hammer running backs over and over and over again and find like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, which we actually ended up drafting in the last round. But overall, the strategy we had was in the early rounds, load up on wide receivers, make sure you get your running backs, and don't overspend on quarterback and tight end, which I may or may not have stuck to that strategy. Maybe I had to deviate based off what happened in our draft. But starting round 1, a wrench was thrown into things when we got Saquon Barkley. I was expecting to get Justin Jefferson. I was using the draft sheet, I believe number 34 that we have posted on flockfantasy.com. That's for an in-person draft where you do have to start a total of 8 offensive players. It's a 12-team full PPR format. Obviously, I was going to use the custom draft sheet for my exact league settings. And there it had Saquon Barkley with the power ranking at 3 and it had Justin Jefferson with the power ranking at pick 6. But surprisingly, we actually get Saquon Barkley falling to us, and this was a little bit of a tough decision. I was mentally prepared all week to go through and draft Justin Jefferson. If you look at the range of outcomes with Jefferson, the dude has been an absolute tank. If we look at his closest comparable age 24 wide receiver season since the year 2008, you had Antonio Brown with a similar age 24 year, Michael Thomas, Demaryius Thomas, Mike Evans, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, A.J. Green, T.Y. Hilton, Alshon Jeffrey. Every single one of these wide receivers outside of T.Y. Hilton and Alshon Jeffrey averaged at least 15 points per game the following season, and Michael Thomas and A.J. Brown went for at least 23. So Justin Jefferson, arguably the most talented wide receiver in the league. A quarterback is not guaranteed to be great with McCarthy, but it's not like Sam Darnold is phenomenal either. And then going over to Barkley, it's terrifying, right? Because I look at this player and I go, okay, well, he averaged 22.2 points per game. Obviously super exciting. But if we look at the closest comparable seasons that we have going back to the year 2008 for 27-year-old running backs, a lot of them get worse from age 27 to age 28. The only running backs that actually got better going into their age 28 seasons were LaShawn McCoy, Marshawn Lynch, and Chris Johnson. We have a lot of these guys getting injured, such as like McCaffrey in 2023. Going into 2024, he went down. Such as Nick Chubb in 2022, he goes down in 2023. So it is scary starting off a draft Saquon Barkley, but if I get Barkley at the 106, especially knowing that I'm going to be able to hammer in mid-round wide receivers, I just had to start the draft that way. Now, going over to round 2, I got very lucky for things to fall to me this way. I'm sure y'all saw, but I had my draft sheets printed out and I was actually using them with a clipboard. I would cross those guys off as soon as they went on the board. My highest ranked players were Drake London, A.J. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. And because we went through and we took Saquon Barkley round 1, I know over the next 3 rounds, I need at least 2 wide receivers. So it's very easy for me to just take my highest ranked player at that point, which was Drake London. We can look at London versus A.J. Brown with the player comparison tool on flockfantasy.com. And we can see over the past 2 years, A.J. Brown's averaged 16.9 points per game. Drake London this past season was at 16.5. So similar type profiles. However, you have to keep in mind, A.J. Brown is going to be playing his age 28 season this next year. Drake London was just 23 years old. So when we use the range of outcomes tool on flockfantasy.com, we'll see that a lot of these 23-year-old wide receivers with a similar season to Drake London exploded the following year. Drake London's age 23 wide receiver season looks almost identical to Jamar Chase 2 years ago. Jamar Chase the following year is the Triple Crown winner. It's almost identical to Julio Jones back in 2012. The following year, he averages 22 points per game. It's almost identical to Amon-Ra St. Brown in 2022. The following year, he averages 20 plus points per game. And there's a super high floor where there was only one wide receiver with that profile to not average at least 13 points per game the following season. We go over and we look at A.J. Brown. Just simply, when you are pushing into age 28, you should expect that there is some natural regression overall. So I'm going to be giving the benefit of the doubt to Drake London, both with our draft sheets. And obviously, I'm using those draft sheets when I'm drafting my teams. Now, if you've not done your draft already, I highly, highly recommend using the draft sheets we made. It made my draft this year 10,000 times easier, and I made 50 draft sheets so you can take one for your exact platform and your exact league settings. They're posted on flockfantasy.com with all the tools that you're seeing in this video, including the range of outcomes tool, the player comparison. We even have the My Teams page, which if you look right now, I do have the number one team according to my rankings. And there's the trade calculator, trade finder, updated rankings every single week until January 1st. It's only $34 if you get the 2025 season pass, by far and away the cheapest thing that we've ever had on the site. And I would confidently say that you're not going to find a better product to help you dominate your fantasy football league this year. Plus, if you use code FLOCK, I'm going to be answering your start sit questions and your trade questions in the live streams that we're going to be doing during the season for free. Now, going over to round three. Round three, I was a little bit nervous, but we got lucky to see T. Higgins make it to us here. And with T. Higgins in our league where I can start up to 4 wide receivers, and I know I need to draft at least 1 wide receiver the next 2 rounds, it's super easy. He's the highest ranked player on my board at this point. We go ahead and we take him. If we use the range of outcomes tool looking at T. Higgins with his similar age 25 seasons to 26 years old in comparison to maybe like Tyreek Hill looking at his similar age 30 years to his age 31 seasons, shouldn't be that big of a surprise that the wide receiver that was just better at 25 on average is going to have the better age 26 year than what we had with the Tyreek profile. Now, of course, to give Tyreek the benefit of the doubt, you did have the Tua injury. Not only did you have the Tua injury, but at the same time, Tyreek Hill himself was banged up last season. But I'm going to be going with Higgins, knowing that Tyreek is still kind of dealing with the nagging injury in training camp at this point, but either guy would have fit our roster. Now, I really didn't want to get an elite level quarterback in this draft. I really wanted to hammer in running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver. I didn't have an option though. These guys forced my hand. Jayden Daniels fell to me at the 407. And if I reference my draft sheets, we had Jayden Daniels as a player that should have been going at the 3-4 turn. So if I have a late 3rd round value falling to me in the middle of the 4th round, and I still fall in my rules where we have 1 running back and 2 wide receivers already, we have the luxury where we can take the value and we can take the elite QB. Obviously, Jayden Daniels was phenomenal last year, but if you actually look at his first half of the year versus his second half of the year with the player comparison tool on the site, you'll see that he even got better. You actually had Jayden Daniels moving from 20.2 points per game up to 24.3 points per game in the second half of the season. So we are going to go ahead. We're going to take Jayden Daniels. I don't have him in the same tier as Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. However, I do think that he's right up there as the QB3 and super excited to draft him. Now, going over to round 5, I know I may or may not be a fraud, but we took DK Metcalf. Now, I know that I made a video saying like, oh, DK Metcalf, the worst pick on the board when he's going in the round 4 of drafts. And yeah, you look at a lot of ESPN drafts, you look at a lot of Yahoo drafts, and DK Metcalf there is a round 4 pick, and he's going ahead of guys that I love like Xavier Worthy. That doesn't happen in our draft though, and that's why I don't just have 5 guys that I plan on drafting in every draft. I take my draft sheets and we make sure that we can get the value falling to us, because when DK Metcalf here makes it to us at wide receiver 28, so essentially a mid wide receiver 3, this is the price tag that makes sense, because my big holdup with DK Metcalf is we go through and we look at his entire NFL career and we go, yeah, he's built like I am, but ultimately at the end of the day, he's always been a low-end wide receiver too. You have a season where he finishes as the wide receiver 20 in points per game. Another year, wide receiver 21. Another season, wide receiver 22. Another season, wide receiver 20. Then yes, you have a low-end wide receiver 1 season mixed in. You have a low-end wide receiver 3 season mixed in. But ultimately, he just hasn't been able to be a super high target earner in this offense. And the offense that he's in now is probably going to be a lower volume passing attack than what he's been in the past. Now, this also could be the highest target share that he has ever seen. You could possibly see him getting up to 30% of the Pittsburgh Steelers targets. So we knew we needed another wide receiver. So getting DK Metcalf as our wide receiver 3 in round 5 feels okay. Now, moving over to round 6, this is the first time that I didn't just take the best player available according to my draft sheets. Because again, up until this point, I just have my draft sheets printed out. I'm crossing out players every single time they get drafted. And here in round 6, I had Sam Laporta the highest in my power rankings. Now, if you're using the draft sheets, you'll see that the power rankings will be an average of the ADP for the platform that you're drafting on with my specific rankings for your format. Now, I had Zay Flowers ranked ahead of Sam Laporta, but Laporta typically goes a lot earlier in these drafts. And maybe if you're drafting in like a regular fantasy football league where these guys like Kelsey are going to sneak into the 6th rounds, Evan Ingram's going to go in round 7, then yeah, just take Sam Laporta here in the 6th instead. But I knew these guys. I knew that they were not going to be doing that. I knew that tight end values were going to be great later on. So I wanted to make sure we get another receiver, another player to put in our actual starting lineup at either the flex spot or the wide receiver slot. And we took Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers slides into our second flex. Again, we wanted to make sure that we follow our rules. And our rules were that with our first 9 picks, I wanted at least 5 wide receivers and 3 running backs. Now, we do break that in just a second. Now, it's not in round 7, though, because in round 7, my highest player according to our power ranking was TJ Hockenson, because TJ Hockenson had an ADP across all platforms at pick 62. Now, for our format in particular, I have him ranked at 78. Jerry Jeudy has an ADP across all platforms at 82. For our format in particular, I have him ranked 71 because, again, in our format, wide receivers are going to matter so damn much. And Jerry Jeudy had a really solid season last year, best year of his NFL career from a points per game perspective, where he does finish as the wide receiver 24. And if you look at where I get him off the board here, I draft him as the wide receiver 41. So I completely agree with everything I said early in the offseason about trying to avoid wide receivers in bad offenses because typically they do have cap ceilings. And right now the Cleveland Browns project to be the worst offense in the entire NFL. But Jerry Jeudy, average expert ranking on flockfantasy.com, wide receiver 37. Last year, wide receiver 24. 3 years ago, wide receiver 17. And here I'm taking him at wide receiver 41. So I'm okay pulling the trigger. He wasn't the highest ranked player according to our list. That was TJ Hockenson. But again, we were expecting to get tight end values later. And I wanted to make sure we had 5 wide receivers and 3 running backs inside the first 9 rounds. Now, here's where things went off the rails. Here's where I don't want to say we made a mistake, but we had to go against our plans. I already told you our cheat sheet had TJ Hockenson as the best available player in round 7. I wasn't going to take him there. My format, I know I'm drafting with sharp guys. I can wait on tight end. But TJ Hockenson made it to us in round 8. He made it to us at the 807. And at this point, our highest ranked players are Kelsey, Andrews, and David Njoku at tight end. And the fact of the matter is, I expected that we were going to have a run at tight end right after our selection. And if we were looking at the best available running backs, they were Travis Etienne, Jalen Warren, Zach Charbonnet. Like 47 wide receivers had gone off the board at this point. I had to take TJ Hockenson. I had to take the falling value. We broke our rules. It put us behind at running back. But if we go back and we look at what TJ Hockenson did in 2023, TJ Hockenson averaged 14.6 points per game. Now, yes, in 2024, he was only at 8.7. But that was not his fault. It was just the fact that he got injured at the end of the 2023 season and they ramped him up slowly. We go back to that 2023 year when he was the tight end 2 in points per game. he was averaging 33 routes a game. Last year, he was at 22 routes a game just because his snap rate went down. He went from playing 79% of the snaps to 63% of the snaps. But now that he has another full offseason to recover, I think it's very easy to see how TJ Hockenson turns back into a top 5 tight end. And I simply have to take that guy over a running back 3, running back 4. I have to take that guy over a wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. So we took Hockenson. We went against our rules. In your league, I'd be very surprised if Hockenson falls to the 807. And if he does, honestly, I'm okay with you taking him. Now, at this point, we are well behind the 8 ball at running back. We've gone 8 rounds in this draft. We have an elite quarterback with Jayden Daniels. We have TJ Hockenson at tight ends. We are loaded at receiver with London wide receiver 1, Higgins wide receiver 2, Metcalf wide receiver 3, Flowers wide receiver 4, Judy wide receiver 5, and we have the anchor running back holding us down with Saquon Barkley at the very top. If you were in a 2 wide receiver 1 flex format, I would be very worried about this draft. However, with this being a double flex format where I could start 4 of these wide receivers weekly, this is the exact strategy that you want to be implementing. And to be real with you, my running back room in our draft at this point was 10 times better than my running back room was by round 8 in our draft last year. And last year I finished 9-5 and got a bye into the playoffs. It's all about adjusting to your format, but we have to pivot. We have to go running back, running back, running back, running back, running back. So next time we are on the clock in round 9, we access our draft sheets and the highest ranked players are quarterbacks, tight ends, but I have my quarterback situation figured out. I have my tight end situation figured out. We're looking skill positions, particularly at running back. Jaylen Warren was by far and away the best running back on the board for me. I mean, I know that I'm much higher on Jaylen Warren than the other expert average rankings on flockfantasy.com, but I view Jaylen Warren as a starting running back week 1, and I needed somebody to put in my starting lineup. So Jaylen Warren, welcome to the squad. Then going over to round 10, again, I'm just hammering in running back, running back, running back, running back. If I looked at my draft sheet, the highest ranked player that we had was Cam Scadaboo at the running back position, who was a very strong prospect. Like if we actually look at his prospect grade next to Caleb Johnson, according to the FSE prospect model on the site, you'll see that they graded out to be about the same, which was the same grade that you had with J.K. Dobbins coming out in the 2020 class. So Cam Scadaboo's been dealing with a hamstring injury, but in reality, we weren't necessarily expecting to draft this guy and start him week 1 anyway. That's what we had Jaylen Warren for. So we're just looking for some late season upside. So we take him here at RB 39 in the middle of the 10th. And what do we do in the 11th round? Okay, I need a running back that I could start if I'm desperate, but hopefully has elite upside. And that's Braylon Allen. So we go ahead and we take Braylon Allen in the middle of the 11th. What's hilarious is if I put Braylon Allen into the range of outcomes tool on the site, no data loads. Not because the tool's broken, not because it's glitching. It's because we've never seen a running back since 2008 play a season as young as what Braylon Allen just did. Braylon Allen last year was the youngest running back in the NFL. Braylon Allen right now, I believe, is 4 years younger than RJ Harvey, and he flashed talent last season, and this coaching staff can't stop talking about him, both with a potential goal line role and receiving usage. So taking the high upside shot in case we get a Breece Hall injury, a Breece Hall trade, or maybe Braylon Allen just plays the David Montgomery role, it's a no-brainer. Then we take Nick Chubb here at the 1207. Now, immediately, everybody just completely mocks me. I'm sure you've seen it in the draft log. But the reality of the situation is I view Nick Chubb as a potential week 1 starter. What do I need here at the running back position? This isn't best ball. This isn't underdog. I have access to the waiver wire. I can go through, and if Nick Chubb isn't the starting running back, if for whatever reason it's Dameon Pierce, if maybe you end up getting, I don't know, Joe Mixon back and healthy, which seems impossible at this point, then sure, I'll go ahead and I'll cut the dude. But to get a potential starter in round 12 in a running back needy room, again, this was our plan. We are hammering running backs in the late rounds, guys that we could cut after week 1 if we don't like their roles, but preferably they smash and we can get them in our starting lineup. Then afterwards, probably the worst pick that we made was taking Dallas Goedert. I thought Dallas Goedert at tight end 14 was by far and away the best value on the board. At this point, like Joshua Palmer, wide receiver 65, has already gotten drafted. So I'm like, maybe I can take Dallas Goedert. If TJ Hockenson turns out to be a bum, maybe he's usable. I mean, Dallas Goedert has been a top 12 tight end every single year of his NFL career in points per game. So we take him, hindsight being 2020, based off how few tight ends got drafted in our league. Realistically, I could always go to the waiver wire to get a tight end. So I may end up dropping Dallas Goedert. Then we take Kareem Hunt with our 14th round pick. So one thing that we voted on right before the draft started is if we had to draft a defense and if we had to draft a kicker. Now, I knew if everybody voted that they didn't want to draft a kicker and a defense and they just wanted to pick them up right before the season started, I knew my strategy. All right, well, I'm not going to draft a kicker and a defense. I'll pick them up right before week 1. I'll just go running back at the very end of my draft. And with Kareem Hunt, I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll see what his role is in Kansas City. I just simply don't know. Maybe Brashad Smith doesn't make the team. Maybe Kareem Hunt ends up being healthy and Kareem Hunt can be a starting running back for us. But then with my last round pick, this is where the stroke of genius came in. Everybody obviously is using the site and the rankings on the site at this point. Now I'll say I had those draft sheets printed out up until about round 12 when the draft sheets ran out of space, where I didn't print out the last 3 rounds of sheets, which I should have done. So everybody's just using the site at this point, right? And I remember something. I had told the developers on flockfantasy.com last week that they needed to add Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt because he wasn't in our player pool for whatever reason. So everybody's using the rankings page on the site. And something comes to me in the back of my head. It's like 12:30, almost 1 a.m. at this point. I go, oh, crap. I bet you Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt hasn't gotten drafted. We run into the little war room. I ask Spicy Hot, can I get JCM? We get him. We throw him on there. And now we look like we have a real shot at running back upside. And what's really cool with this as well is most people are going to have to drop 2 players. So the waiver wire is going to be loaded up with running backs. I have the best wide receiver room in this draft. I have an elite quarterback. I have Barkley holding down running back 1. I have so many shots at our RB2 slot with Jaylen Warren to start early. And then hopefully JCM turns into something. Cam Scadaboo turns into something. Braylon Allen, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, whoever the hell it is. Or I go to the waiver wire and we have a strong ass tight end room. So immediately we go ahead, we load our team onto flockfantasy.com with the My Teams page. And I am currently sitting at the 3rd spot with the power rankings using the expert average. But if you use my rankings, which obviously I'm going to be higher on the players that I drafted compared to the expert average, I am sitting at number 1, which is why I believe that I'm the number 1 team in the Flock League. But I will say, honestly, there have been a couple trades done since this draft, which hopefully y'all see those sooner rather than later, and I'll explain my strategy there for them. But if you have not watched the draft vlog video yet, fix your life. Look up the Flock League on YouTube. It's by far and away the best video I've ever made. By far and away the best video I've ever been a part of. I am super fortunate that all the creators were willing to fly down to Austin and help us create something super special for y'all. I could not be more excited about my team. I could not be more excited about this league. I really hope y'all enjoyed the draft video. And the reason I'm so damn confident with the team that we drafted is we were using our draft sheets. If you were drafting in a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, we probably will have the running backs a lot higher on your board. So make sure you get a draft sheet specific to your league. Make sure that you can get access to all the tools on the site to dominate your league this season. It's all on flockfantasy.com. We just dropped this cheapest deal that we've ever done by a country mile. The $34 season pass gets you hooked up with everything until January 1st. Plus, you're going to be getting a free start sit question and trade question for me to answer during the live streams during the season if you use code FLOCK. But I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you and really hope you get to see you out in the live stream later tonight.